Most people are absolutely convinced that high intelligence always announces itself through gold medals, flawless grades, and a successful career. But behavioral psychology proves the exact opposite. Real geniuses rarely look the part from the outside. In school, they were often written off as absent-minded, strange, or lagging behind, while they themselves lived for years with a heavy, suffocating feeling that something was fundamentally wrong with them. Genius leaves distinct, hidden fingerprints on the psyche. Right now, we are going to break down 7 psychological signs that a powerhouse processor is running inside you, a force you might not even suspect you possess.
The first sign separates conventional intelligence from true genius, sharper than anything else. Most people think in flat sentences and an internal monologue. But if your brain is wired differently, you don't sort through words. You instantly see the answer as a 3-dimensional image, a shape, or a spatial structure rotating inside your head. Only after grasping the core of a phenomenon at a deep visual level do you begin the agonizing process of translating that image into human language. Because of this, hidden geniuses often appear to those around them as slow, spacing out, or sluggish thinkers. But this is a complete illusion. While others are rapidly adding 2 plus 2 in a straight line, your processor is rendering a highly complex 3D model. Albert Einstein admitted that he didn't think in words at all. His breakthroughs arrived as pictures, like chasing a beam of light. Nikola Tesla designed and tested complex engines for weeks entirely within his imagination, noticing the slightest wear on parts before he ever touched metal. If you need to see a thought first before you can voice it, your mind is operating on the exact frequency of history's greatest innovators.
It is widely accepted that a genius is a narrow specialist who knows more about a subject than anyone else in the world. Cognitive psychology completely refutes this. The prominent creativity researcher Dean Keith Simonton proved that breakthrough ideas are born from combinatorial creativity. This is a rare capability of the mind to take elements from one domain and seamlessly weld them to an entirely opposite topic where they have never been applied before. Where a certified specialist sees a dead end, a hidden genius notices a non-obvious connection. You could be reading about the structure of an anthill and suddenly realize how to restructure your company's logistics, or watching a film on architecture and unlock the solution to a marketing strategy. Steve Jobs didn't invent the computer, nor did he invent calligraphy. He simply connected them into a single product, creating the Macintosh. The flip side of this gift is painful. You constantly feel like an outsider. Professionals in both fields will call you crazy and say these things are entirely unrelated. But history proves real breakthroughs are always made by outsiders, capable of connecting what fanatical experts never even thought to compare.
The traditional educational system spends years training us to act strictly according to a template. Here is a ready-made problem. Here are the tools. Now find the answer. Most people sharpen their brains exclusively for this algorithm. But in the psychology of cognitive processes, there exists a far rarer skill called problem finding. And it is precisely this skill that defines an extraordinary mind. A hidden genius never hunts for easy answers. Before even beginning to solve a task, their mind intuitively senses that the initial question itself is fundamentally flawed. Those around you accept the basic rules of the game as a given, but they genuinely grate on you. You become obsessed with things that others consider obvious and settled. Einstein spent 10 years asking himself, what would happen if you raced alongside a light wave? To everyone else, it looked like a foolish, childish whim. But it was precisely this inability to take dogmas on faith that completely overturned physics. If you are consumed by questions that others ignore, your mind is seeking new, hidden patterns. This sign frequently forces hidden geniuses to burn themselves out with guilt for years, writing themselves off as lazy or undisciplined. We are conditioned to value stable, monotonous work from 9 to 6. But extensive research by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who studied the lives of dozens of Nobel laureates and great creators, revealed a striking truth. Not a single one of them operated in that kind of rhythm. Their productivity is always a sine wave, a prolonged period of visible stillness, which those around you will inevitably label procrastination, is actually the process of cognitive incubation. Your brain is oversaturated with the problem and is processing terabytes of data deep within the subconscious, while you are simply walking or drinking coffee. The mathematician Henri Poincaré fought in vain over a complex theory at his desk, but the complete solution came to him on its own the moment he stepped onto a bus, entirely distracted. The incubation period is followed by a manic, explosive burst of productivity where you output a week's worth of work in a single day. Trying to break this cycle for the sake of artificial stability means explicitly destroying your unique internal engine. This sign traces its roots directly back to your childhood and often masquerades as a psychological trauma or vulnerability. Think back. Did your parents or teachers ever tell you that you were too much, too sensitive, too emotional, asking too many questions, or taking other people's injustices way too close to your heart? The Polish psychologist Kazimerz Dabrowski, who extensively studied gifted individuals, defined this phenomenon as psychological overexcitability. This is not a mental disorder, nor is it a defect in your upbringing. It is a specific, high-capacity architecture of the nervous system. Your brain is naturally born with an elevated bandwidth. It captures more background noise, colors seem brighter, and the behavioral nuances of people are glaringly obvious. The psyche of a hidden genius is literally overloaded with raw cognitive material. That child who was forced to shut up and blend in during youth transforms in adulthood into a person capable of noticing microscopic details, creating profound art, or digging out the absolute truth of things where everyone else sees only a flat picture. The sixth sign operates so quietly and deliberately that most people don't even recognize it as a distinct skill. It is automatic, involuntary systems thinking, a rigid habit of your processor to ruthlessly deconstruct the reality around you. An ordinary person perceives the world as a chain of isolated events. A hidden genius sees the architecture that spawns these events. Entering a standard restaurant, you aren't just waiting for your order. Against your will, your brain begins mapping the system, how information flows from tables to the kitchen, where the bottlenecks form, what triggers are embedded in the menu design, and why the waiters behave exactly the way they do. Reading the morning news? You don't get sucked into cheap emotions. Instead, you automatically calculate the hidden motives of the players, economic interests, and the hierarchy of power. Your mind continuously constructs mental models. Because of this, it is practically impossible to deceive you or plunge you into panic. You always see the hidden gears behind any external facade. The specific tax on this gift is an inability to just relax and watch the show, because you are always occupied with studying the mechanics of how it functions. We have arrived at the most painful and deep sign, one that hidden geniuses carry inside for years like a personal curse. Behind the external facade of your regular routine, stable job, and reasonable compromises, there always lives a quiet, heavy, unyielding knowledge. You still haven't done what your processor is truly capable of. This is not an infantile ego or bloated pride. It is a dull sense of shame before yourself, triggered by the massive chasm between the value you produce right now and the sheer scale embedded in your head. An extraordinary mind is rigidly wired. If it is not actively creating new meanings or complex systems, its unused potential turns inward and begins to melt its own psyche, transforming into toxic anxiety. If you feel this gnawing loneliness and internal hunger, even when everything in your life is objectively fine, this is the ultimate marker. An ordinary person is satisfied with small things. But for your mind, creation is not about ambition. It is metabolism. And this mental satiety will never arrive until you begin to unleash your hidden scale. The ultimate paradox is that society mistakenly attempts to brand all of its manifestations as defects. Thinking in images is labeled as sluggishness. Finding connections between opposite domains as absent-mindedness. Obsessing over bizarre questions as impracticality. And explosive, impulsive productivity as ordinary laziness. But behavioral psychology proves what those around you considered your eccentricities or flaws is actually the unique architecture of your mind. Your processor was naturally assembled to build original concepts and see the world deeper than the rest. The question is not whether you possess this hidden potential. The question is whether you are ready to stop artificially cutting yourself down just to appear normal and convenient to others. It is time to let your engine run at maximum capacity. If this brutal breakdown finally helped you map the mechanics of your own thoughts, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Drop a comment below sharing which of these 7 signals hit closest to home and made you recognize yourself. I will see you in the next video.